Coming up on this edition of Lossano and Friends, the alter ego of Spenguli, TV legend Rich Coase, host of Eddie V's Roadshow, Eddie Volkman, author of Hot Doug's the Book, Doug Sohn, and our very own Jim Groneman.
Yay! Welcome to another edition of Lossano and Friends. Final one of the season. I'm Tony Lossano. All right, let's go around the room. Rich, introduce yourself.
Why, hello, I'm Rich Coase, the altered ego of Spenguli at Me TV.
Very good. Eddie?
Eddie Volkman, formerly on the Eddie and Jobo show on multiple stations in town, but currently the host on the Misfits radio network of Eddie V's Roadshow.
Yes.
Doug Sohn, President Hot Doug's. That's really, that just hasn't changed, and really, we haven't had a restaurant in 7.5 months. That's all. Something out of there.
Jimmy.
Jim Groneman, permanent guest here at Lossano and Friends.
Yay! Okay. And then last week we had a big show with a big surprise.
Huge.
There was the proposal. There
Yep.
was the
Amy Landecker.
Amy
John
Landecker
was here.
It was such a jam-packed show.
It was good.
But this one's even better.
It is.
You know why? Look at who's in the room. 3 of my favorite guests. They
Thank
are.
you.
I mean, you
Thank
guys
you. I
are.
didn't know you felt
And Jimmy.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And Rich, you're still enshrined here at the museum.
Well, yeah, I'm not personally, although that almost happened.
You know what? You were talking about that beforehand. Tell that's right. I
Yeah,
think that's
well,
hilarious.
they were very nice. They took my original coffin, which is funny for me to say, after some of the medical stuff I've been through, and some of our set pieces that we originally used, and they actually put them on permanent display upstairs here at the museum. I hope people will come by and take a look at them.
The Museum of Broadcast Communications.
Yes, here on State Street,
And
right
Ginsey.
next to Heritage. But the night that they brought this up, we went and we unveiled it. It was very nice. And Dave Plyer from the museum said, you want to just go inside of the glassed-in area so that people can take some pictures. And I thought, okay, sure. I figured, a couple minutes, that's fine. So I go in there, and suddenly it becomes an episode of The Twilight Zone or Planet of the Apes, where I'm trapped in there, and these hordes of people keep coming by and staring at me. And one guy started throwing popcorn in, which I thought was rather insensitive. But I was in there, I must have been in there for a half hour, and I'm thinking, when can I get out of here? And then I'm thinking, maybe this was a part of Bruce Beaumont's evil plan. That, once you go in like a Roach Motel, you'll never come out.
Right.
You'll be on display forever.
You're looking across there's Bozo with Joey Dora waving at you, who played Bozo.
Now you know what it's like to be a working stiff.
It was so weird, just so incredibly weird. But and it's like these waves of people would come through. They'd be taking pictures, and they'd move by, and another wave would come up. And after a while, it was like, okay, this is nice, but can I come out? No. It was very, very strange.
Oh man! And Doug, why don't you have your old store in the museum here?
Well,
It doesn't fit here, I
Well, it
guess.
doesn't fit here. But having said that,
Oh.
it is actually being erected.
Oh.
Sorry, I was
That's a
waiting for that. I
weird
threw
joke.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I was waiting for
Yeah.
that. And I don't know if I can call it a museum, but
Someone's basement?
someone's there's a car collector and history of Chicago collector, and it's being recreated in this odd space.
Kind of like when Kramer had the set from the Merv Griffin.
Right.
It's just like that.
Right.
Exactly. So I just planned, just to hang out there for a while.
Yeah.
Thinking, what the heck.
Well, this made me think about, you just said about Kramer, Letterman. Letterman just did his final show. Are you guys fans of Letterman?
Sure.
Wait, it's not on anymore?
And Hot Doug's is closed.
Oh, son of a...
I'll give you a few updates.
I blame Mayor Daley.
Well, it was a Wednesday, which I also find an odd day for Dave's final show. Not Friday. Friday would have been... it's the exact same anniversary of Johnny Carson's
But
final show.
was it the last day of sweeps? The May sweeps?
I don't...
Yeah.
is it-
And they
is that
wanted
what it
to
is?
have that
TV
tidbit in.
man
I think so. I think so.
Or he just
Okay.
wanted a
And a lot
5-day
of-
weekend.
A lot of them. A lot of them haven't been doing Friday night shows.
Yeah.
Right,
Right. He
that's
pre-taped
true.
his,
Yeah.
absolutely. And he came out, his very first joke was,
Welcome to the Late Show. I want to tell you one thing. I'll be honest with you. It's beginning to look like I'm not going to get the Tonight Show.
yeah.
It's a good bit.
It's a very good bit. How did you, so you all saw the final,
Yeah.
11? Yeah, what did you think? Because I'm hearing different views from everyone.
I thought it fit in with Dave's personality. That he didn't want it to be overly emotional,
Right.
and still have a little bit of a smart ass edge to it.
Yeah.
And he didn't, knowing the way that he seems to be,
Yeah.
he didn't want it to be a very mawkish, sort of overly sentimental thing. And it showed a lot of great stuff, and it was similar to Johnny's, but without a lot of the heavy emotion.
Right.
And they also built up by having a number of shows.
Weeks
You take it as
of-
a
yeah.
collection of
Right.
the last couple of weeks,
Right.
where lots of different people came on and made tribute. So he didn't have to cram it all into some
Agreed.
final
But
show.
you know what I found very surprised is that one of the 2 clips that he played, full clips of the show, was this Taco Bell bit. you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Which is very funny, but I'm like, that's the clip you're playing for the second.
Yeah, I was
you're playing
surprised
for-
by that,
It was
too.
a little
Yeah,
odd the
yeah.
other day. But when they did the top 10 list and everyone came out, you know.
And Barbara Walters barely lived through her.
David, I just want to say,
Right, she hasn't done stand-up comedy in a long, long
He
time.
hasn't stood up at all. And I noticed one thing, he didn't cry. And I thought, that's interesting. I didn't cry the 3 times I left. Then again, I had no advance notice any of those times, so I didn't have time. I wasn't prepared.
I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus had the funniest line in the top 10.
Yes.
Is it here?
Yeah.
for letting me take part in another hugely disappointing series.
And Seinfeld's going, really?
I shouldn't have gone before her. I could have retorted.
Anyway, so Dave said goodnight, which was very somber, And I thought, and he ran late, 22 minutes, so if you weren't at home and you had your DVRs set, you're missing a part of the show.
And then Foo Fighters did an extended remix. They go, no, we got more video, keep going.
Right.
We're gonna come and make up a new verse.
But did you see the next morning? The next morning, they already had the set all chopped up and out in the dumpsters.
That's a very CBS kind of thing.
Yeah. What I found very weird about that was that Pat Farmer is a stagehand there. He must have, stayed up to watch the show or participate with friends or whatever. And then the next morning, he was there helping chop. I'm like, they didn't give the morning off. I mean, really?
That's the way business works.
22
young man.
years, and you got me back here to chop up and get out. Get out!
You know what was cool? Years ago, when I was doing mornings on WCKG, they had a special event at Navy Pier for Halloween, and they brought in Paul Schaefer, who was a very nice guy. It was a lot of fun. And we were talking about when I was at the first show that Dave did when he was still on NBC from the Chicago Theater, which was great.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, you guys really seem to enjoy that. And he said, well, I'll tell you. No, I'm not going to do the voice. He said, actually, the reason we were so overwhelmed by the crowd reaction was we had just previously done a remote from Las Vegas, and the audiences were terrible. They were annoying, and they were not into the show at all. And he said, when Dave first walked out, and the crowd just erupted in Chicago, he was so moved, he walked over and kind of shook hands with Paul and said, hey, I think we did it this time.
Right.
So it meant a lot to him that he got such a great reaction from the Chicago audience.
Yeah.